So, welcome back to our channel once again. So, today we are going to be talking about the role of fatherhood, as I said. So, I'm going to start off first. And for me, I think that the role of fatherhood is very important in a child's life because a father is a male parent that a child has, and that parent is supposed to take care of the child and be loving. And there is a difference between a mom and a dad parent. So a mother is a very loving um, person, a very loving individual, and in this century, we would call that a type of individual that does pep talk, which is a smooth, calming kind of talk. But a father, well, most fathers would go like that type of strong, encouraging talk that is like, So, anyway, the role of fatherhood is very, very important, and there are some roles that they have, such as they should take care of their wives, and when their children see that, they will know that they should do the same thing when they're older and all of that stuff. And another thing is to bring out the best in your child and not tell them their weaknesses, because that will just make them weaker. The best thing to do is to tell them the right thing to do and all the things that they've been doing right, and not the disadvantages in them and in their lives. Okay. So, like, we have forefathers, or we are supposed to have forefathers. We have our biological father, which is the person who made us happen. And the next father we have is our spiritual father, who is our pastors and um, those people who preach the gospel to us, and like all things to do with spiritual things. And the next father we have, like, if you are a grown woman and you are married, then the next father you would have is your husband, because like because sometimes like our fathers aren't there when we're all grown up. So we have our fathers to look, our husbands to take care of us, and we look up to our husbands. And the last father that we are going to have is our godly father. And our godly father is just our father in heaven, who looks down on us and, like, you know, takes care of us and makes everything happen in our lives. And another thing that I wanted to say about fathers is just that if you are a father, you have to love your children and your wives just like how God loved the temple. So that is really all I have to say. And I also wanted to give an example of my father. Like, my father loves his wife, which is my mom, very, very much.
Blushing.
And he also takes us out, and like he just shows his love in such a good way. Like, when we go out to the salon and come home, he's the first person to notice that we've done our hair, and he's always that type of person that notices us, and like he also helps us to study and all that type of stuff. But anyway, he also brings out the best in us. So that is all I really have to say. And if there's anything you want to say.
Yes, thank you, Jessica, for all you've covered so far. Well, I will take off from where Jessica stopped. She has explained what a father is and the types of father we ought to have. I would like to go back to biblical references of godly fathers that we should, right, Christian fathers that we should emulate. Because going back to our topic is the role of fatherhood in Christian homes. We can't have the right roles being played if there's no proper references. So we're going to look at 5 very important roles that is expected for every father to play to make a very good home and upbringing for the children. I will start by saying that a father ought to love his wife. Having to love your wife, not humiliating her, not ridiculing her, or making her feel of a lesser being, most especially in the presence of the children, because the children watch what you do and what you say and how you act towards their mother. And that is where the role of fatherhood all starts from. I would like to refer to Joseph in the Bible, the father of Jesus Christ. He was a loving man. We all heard that from all records. He was a carpenter and a very industrious one at that. He raised the children to be saved in that manner until Jesus was old enough to start the gospel in his 30s. But starting from the fact that the wife was pregnant and then, accepting her the way she was, not judging and trying to figure it all out by himself, it stood out in the Bible as recorded. Secondly, another way he displayed his love for his wife was when Jesus got lost in the temple. There was no need for causing fight and all of that. They went back peacefully to look for Jesus Christ. So those two areas stood out for me in the Bible as a way a Bible character loved his wife regardless of whatever had, whatever role or whatever action she must have taken. So secondly, we'll move on to training up a child. As a father, it is important that every father should train up the child according to the word of God, with godly wisdom. There's no wisdom that surpasses godly wisdom, which is taking us back to the word of God, the scriptures, and what the scriptures has to say. And that also helps in building the faith of the children. So for a father that believes in the word and trusts in the word, ought to have faith regardless of whatever situation and obey the word of God. An exemplary figure in the Bible was Abraham. Abraham was someone in the Bible had that out of all Bible record was told to sacrifice the only son he had, even in his late time, in his late age. And he was willing to do that because he had faith in God and he trusted God. And I will also say that the child that was even willing to let himself be sacrificed, it stood out for me. Perhaps no one really paid attention to that, but I believe that he also had the faith that his father had for him to have lay still and was ready to be sacrificed. Thirdly, we'll move on to the third role that a father ought to play, leadership role. A father has to play a leadership role in the sense that he raises his children and protects them from what the society norms and pressures that the children will face. We can't stop our children from seeing what they see at school, watching what they watch at school and in several other places they go. But when we instill that sense of, I wouldn't say fear, but reference for the things of God, I will refer to someone like Noah as an example for this case. I remember when Noah was instructed by God to build that ark, there was a lot of mocking and jeering by the people around him. I see that in our recent age as societal pressures. There are certain things that people will want to make you compromise your faith at some point. But when you know that you are doing something that is in line with the word of God, you are being instructed to do, you wouldn't pay attention to that, just like Noah did. Noah remained focused with his children. They built that ark. I'm sure it took them quite some time. Regardless of the mocking, the jeering, that is what we face in the society. People will laugh at what you do. People will make fun of what you do. But when you have a focus as a father, you also have a focus for the children. So when you create that sense of focus for them, they will have an unwavering faith that won't make them give in or yield to societal pressures. The first role I would like to look at is the role of proper guidance. That I'll give an example of Moses. Moses was a father to all Israelites. He guided them all through the perseverance, even when they were murmuring and once in a while wanted to give in. He made them to stand strong together. He intervened on their behalf to God. When they were challenged, they wanted to eat certain things, they wanted certain things. He stood by them and he persevered. That is the role of a father. You also interfere and intervene on behalf of your children. So the fifth role The fifth role I would like to look at, besides Abraham, we talked about Abraham, we talked about Moses, we talked about um, Noah. I think is David. Yes, David's role as a father. He persevered when his child was about to give in. His child was about to, succumb to death. The child he had with Bathsheba, but he got sober, and we could see the spiritual part of David coming into play. He wore sackcloth and he was ready to, go before the presence of God to intervene, for God to intervene on behalf of that child. But unfortunately, there's a scripture in the Bible that says the fathers will eat the sour grapes, and then their children sit are set on the edge. There are certain sins of the father that will not let God stop certain things from happening, because it is what it is, as the word of God said. And that is why it is very important that as a father, it never mentioned that as the mother is a sour grape, it mentioned the father. And that is why it is important that the father plays his role efficiently. He should be a spiritual priest to the house. He should lead the children in the right way. The Shunammite woman's husband almost, we could see that in the Shunammite woman's home, she was the one in charge of the spiritual running around of the family. And that was why when the child went to the field of the father and fell and collapsed there, the father simply sent for the slave to take him back. He didn't show that spiritual, character. So there are consequences for fathers who do not show consequences and implication for children. Fathers that do not play their roles, fathers that are not involved in their children, unfortunately, it rubs off on the children when they grow up, because they tend to learn from the influence they get from the societal pressures, the crime rates, the teenage pregnancies, and several other things we see are a result of that. No father figure, or poor father figure role for the children to emulate from. So it is very important, even though sometimes in our society we witness single mothers. I would advise that if you have children, you should have, maybe a mentor, an anointed mentorship, someone that God should lead you to, because a lot of strange things are happening. To guide the children, to play that fatherly role for them, they need to have someone that they can look up to, someone that is living a very good, well-behaved, I would say Christian life, because it matters a lot. A lot is going on. The boys are exposed to so many things, taking drugs, suicidal rate is on the increase, especially for the teenagers. So it is important, very, very important, that the importance of fathers, the significance of fatherly role should be recognized in the society. And with that, I would like to stop here and thank you all for tuning in, and once again wish you all a happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Bye.
Bye.